everybody. If you are watching the Mary and Joe Show. We're a podcast with some eclecticness, and there's several hosts on this show and several mass media. If you are listening, found this link, welcome. It is the Miss Chronic Chronicles, Rachel Raw Truth, and the Mary and Joe Show with my co-hosts, two very awesome people, Marie Tarot 504 and
Good evening.
Kiru. Hello, welcome.
Welcome.
Tonight we're going to be taking you guys on the Wild West journey. You think you know what the Wild West is. From the 90s, we think the Wild West is Cali and all the music, but no. The Wild West goes way deeper. And where I live has such a rich history. Or a couple of years ago, I did some research on the town of Parachute, Grand Valley, Battlement Mesa. These are all the same spot, believe it or not, in the western slope of Colorado. And with finding the history and the roots of many years that I lived here, I found a PDF that was quite incredible, as it entails over 173 slides describing in very big detail. Let me open up this real quick. Let's see. And if you guys can't see it, I'm very sorry. I'm going to do the best I can to make it available to see. Let's see, view tab. So in 1970, I think it was, is when this was initially published. Hold on one second. We got a sensitive computer tonight here. Hold on. Turn on the mic. Here we go. All right, there we go. So, yeah, I think this was done in...
That was published in 1970?
I believe so. Let me see here. 1973. And it was done by one of the locals, Murray, the Murray family, if you see it, by Elaine. And so this particular document, I have the rights to at least share it with you guys with fair use, but I do not have the rights to read word by word and take no breaks and to not have any commentary in between. So obviously, if you guys are listening, it's kind of a treat. It's like a story time episodes docuseries with a podcast twist here. So obviously Marie and Tuki are into history. We're very into the little nitty gritty that we don't understand or know, but being the town that I'm in, being the recent events of Ghost on Camera, being the strange events many years ago that brought me on this journey, as I will be touching, and so will the rest of my lovely co-hosts, and their own circumstances and spiritual situations that like open doorways. And we're like, oh my gosh, let me research that. And It just opened the floodgates. So, we can put it like in the shortest context that I am really feeling honored to be the one that is the voice here for Parachute, Battlement Mesa, and all the locals, and I'm sure we'll be seeing this and future locals, because what I'm going to do is gather all of the things that we need to understand from this document, along with the history and the rich roots that are Colorado, and especially Western Colorado, because even today, as someone who grew up in Denver and a little bit in this area when I was in my middle school days, I was not aware, even only until today, that the Colorado River wasn't the Colorado River. It was a man-made structure that we, the Western Slope, should be very proud of, but it also was a huge conspiracy. And in so many words, this still, everybody, is an explicit show, so if you don't like cursing and things like that, just don't listen, because we're gonna probably curse our asses off. Right, a bunch of Louisiana sailors up in here, and I'm a mountain mama with a Louisiana twist, so can't help it. But it's pretty incredible to see what kind of ruggedness and corruption, like the brothels that existed all through this canyon, along with just the homesteaders who fought for their land. Like, it literally was a reality that at some point in this episode, I will share with you guys how the Indians quite literally would go away in the winter when it would get cold. About this time, they'd start taking their harvest and leaving and moving and not tearing up the soil or whatever. And then, go ahead.
So
Go ahead.
just think in advance. How advanced were these Indians, if we think about it, that they knew how to do the planting there? Well, we
Right.
know, which
Right.
we'll cover on further when we get
Yep.
to the water sourcing.
Right. I mean, it's incredible feats of uh and I think I read it was over 8,000 years. These people in my area are one of the last of the Indians that still have family in this state. That says a lot. That's a heartbreaking statement. That you've got still some that have had 8,000 years. We're talking old history. Like we
Years. Wait,
always
Oh my gosh. Let's talk
8,000.
about that. 8,000 years.
Right.
So
Dinosaurs
wait,
and the Mayans
before
were
Egypt like built their
right.
pyramids. Is it
8,000. They
before
have
Rome?
they have proof in the caves in Glenwood we will talk about in a future episode that there are old tools of metal that do not exist in this country, which means the
Oh, really?
migration. Yes. And
Were
they're in
they? I
crystal
wonder if they were
caves.
like chisels or.
No, they were literally bronze and like it was like these migrators, who were they? But their tools were put in the cave. Their body was never found. There's so many stories we're
Oh
going to talk
wow,
about.
maybe
Yes.
that was
And
a
they're crystal
cache like
caves.
that. That's where they put their things. Like who
It
knows? Like
was.
whenever I leave my job site, I put my tools in my chest, and I leave the site.
Let me
It's interesting.
let me just let the listeners know, if you don't know about Western Colorado, you will by the end of this episode, and so will I. Not this episode, but all of them. The docuseries and the audio podcast that I'll be releasing here. So I'm not the best reader, don't hate. But I absolutely want to put my
Can I
passion
read
into
some of them?
this.
I'll read some of them.
Please, I hope you do.
If I
Yes,
could, if we can see it properly,
the main thing,
we're gonna work
exactly.
on that.
Let me see if I can do exactly. How do we do next pages? It just let me do that. Maybe it's like this. That's what I'll have to do. All right. Is the whole screen showing, or should I change that? Let's see here. View screen. I'm gonna make it full screen. That's not right. How's that? Is that better?
I'd have to zoom in. Yeah. Oh,
All right. Let me try to make it a slight bit bigger, because we do want all the listeners as well to enjoy this moment. So, is that better? Nice?
Let we forget. A
Let
short
we forget.
history of early Grand Valley, Colorado. Originally called
Ori-
Parachute, Colorado. By
now,
Ellerine Durant Murray. First edition.
let's see. Dedicated to parachute pioneers. Now,
Yep.
I saw something we're going to eventually. Why is it not let me? Man, I feel like an old lady right now. Let me figure this part out.
I feel like an old man.
Sorry, guys. Do you?
Sometimes.
Hold on. Let's see if I can get. Oh, that's what I need.
I am not no old person. Y'all gonna have to stop. Stop yourself,
Not yet, huh?
baby.
All right, so we've got the introduction to Parachute Creek, Battlement Mesa, Wallace Creek, Morrisana Mesa, Morrison. It's Morrison now, I think. That's a different name.
I'll take it from 10.
Go for it. Okay, Rulison and Holmes Mesa, the railroad, land, water, and rage rights, schools, churches.
First, early recreations, crimes and disasters, mineral wealth, and proscriptions.
Proscripts?
Yeah,
Postscripts? Yeah,
postscripts.
postscripts. Okay, so I think that. And then, so this is the exciting part. Let me just say this. I have not even looked at the table of contents because I wanted it to be like opening a present.
No,
So if really,
you said you read it. This is the
I did
These are
read like
words
half
I'm
the
familiar-
book, but I
I'm
didn't
not
read the
familiar
table of
with.
contents because I never wanted to like know what the
Postscripts.
fuck.
I've never read that in my
what
life.
was it that we saw that you said?
Here we go. Here we go. So, do you want to take this, Tim? I don't know if it's
The
big enough.
history is a project
sponsored by the product of the combined efforts of the members of the House Culture Club of the Grand Valley, organized in 1894. The oldest study liberate look yeah, you should take
Wait.
it over.
You take it, girl.
No, it's for you.
We're adding a little southern spice to it. I already warned the historians about that. I was like, we have a little accent, all of us.
I don't even know where we're at.
Yeah,
The
where we
Study and
live off.
Literary Club in Garfield County. The members have generously contributed their time, memories, material, and skills to this project. And I, a member of the club, have been privileged to do a research and assemble the facts and items I felt would be of general interest. I wish to thank the club for their confidence in me. It has been a wonderfully rewarding experience. The Home Culture Club and I wish to thank the pioneers themselves and their sons and daughters, as well as many others who so graciously have shared with us memories and experiences and events related to them over the years. We are also most grateful to those who have furnished us with documented information and photographs concerning early events which made this short history possible. Many of these kind, generous people, though but precious memories now, are not and never will be forgotten. I wish to express my personal thanks and gratitude to all. I feel weird saying that because
Here, I'll do this part.
Okay.
I'll read this part. I wish to express my personal thanks and gratitude to all that have aided me in so many ways in arranging and getting these manuscripts ready for publication. Roberta Ogden. Sorry, guys. I'm horrible at names. I'm the worst. So I'll give all the names over. No.
I am too, but I'm just going with it.
We are. For proofreading, which has been a time-consuming and gracious effort on her part. Virginia Wells for typing all of the original manuscripts, which has also been a gracious and time-consuming effort for her. Linda Dutton and Brenda Litston. I'm saying that wrong. Brenda, we're going to go first names, okay? Who have so meticulously typed the final drafts for publication after I have made so many changes, deletions, and additions to the original document. A very special thank you to our granddaughter. Well, we'll leave that part for the rest of you guys to read. That's the main thing I want to explain to everyone, that when we get to some of these parts, I may jump right out of this document.
I have trouble seeing it sometimes. That's my problem.
Oh, okay, that's all right. Let me see. How about that? Did I mess up the stream? Okay. But you are watching it from a phone, unfortunately. Let me see if I can make sure.
Yeah, I'm working on a laptop.
You're doing awesome, though. Let's see here. I'm gonna look up. Bear with me, everyone. I'm gonna pull up my stream and put it on my TV so I can at least see what's going on. Yeah.
Maybe
so
I'll
give me a
that.
second. I think first and foremost, it's pretty awesome. Make sure your TV is all the way turned down though, so it doesn't echo.
Yeah.
But that'll help. Yeah, I mean, the main thing is I'm really excited to be the one that is able to share this, but mostly
we want to give credit where credit's due.
Right. So I'm not going to read word for everything, but like I said, I will be jumping out of some of them to bring more light to the information. Like tonight, we are going to go touch way much more on is it going to let me do it on here? Oh, I'm on Safari. That's not good. Let's see. Hang on. I'm going to jump out of here.
Okay.
Well, I'm not leaving. I'm just going to pull out and turn the video on for my phone, I think, if it won't let me. Hold on. We're going to try this. We're all learning.
I can mention my first time being to Colorado.
Please share while I work this out.
It came up to me to mention it. It was a very strange experience because when I showed up, I experienced maybe my third time of seeing snow fall. And when I showed up, we went to a park, and there were people climbing on the rock faces. And I saw, yeah.
We were at Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs.
Fantastic.
And I saw a guy that was or maybe a lady, that was wearing an orange shirt. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure who it was, but they were wearing an orange
Right.
shirt, and I could have swore they might be like 3,000 feet up in the, or however far up in the sky. I saw them like
Right.
maybe an ant in
Oh,
the
were they on a
distance.
mountain?
They were on the side of a rock face. It was
Oh,
like a 90-degree
yeah.
angle, like a
It
straight
always
rock
freaks
face.
me out when I see that. I
Yeah,
totally
and
feel you.
I saw them, and they were just ascending. Like it was just an average day for them. And for me, I was freezing to death because I come from like a humid, warm climate. So
Right.
I can hardly stand the snowfall slightly. And they're climbing in the snowfall at a 90-degree angle, thousands of feet up. It's truly intimidating when you
Right.
first arrive. There's a lot of things, and there's different culture, and it's just something I've never experienced. And right off the bat, I thought I might be entertained just by watching, watching and observing how awesome some of the people are.
Right. No, I mean, honestly,
They have
Colorado, what
fun
I
doing great
remember as a
things.
child is it was everything was upslope because I started off in Denver for me. And then I remember it being like the mountains in the distance until my mother brought
In
me
the
to like
air
Pikes
center,
Peak. Yes, I used to get bloody noses all the time. Coming from New Orleans,
yeah.
my skin did not adjust for maybe 4 or 5 years.
And you
Seriously.
kind of feel dizzy sometimes when the
All the
elevation's
time.
different.
You
I
can
felt
get
dizzy
sick to
for
your
like a month or
stomach.
two when I
Oh
moved
my
elevation.
gosh. Yeah, I mean, nosebleeds are pretty common. Like you're just talking to somebody and all of a sudden nothing. Nothing good, you know? But no, I mean, this is one of the parts of can you still see the screen okay, guys?
Yeah.
It looks like it's on. I have it. There's no echoes on your side.
No.
Great. I got it to work. Okay. So the Housing Act of 1859, this particular thing is, I believe, like a poem in a sense. And I remember reading this and being like, this is incredible. Like, I just hit the mother load and then looked at 173 pages and I was like, oh my gosh. Like, my child has history, you know, because he was brought home to this house. I love this town. I grew up when I was, 11 years old seeing the mountainside unconstructed. So when I start talking about the time periods we will touch on future, way down the ride after we're done with this, in the future, I think it'll be exciting to kind of see the whole transition of how this town, and for listeners who are getting to know this podcast or if you've never been to Colorado, hey, you might want to come see this crazy little town we're going to talk about. Because from the Indian standpoint and the documents I have to share, all the things. I'm going to stop
I've been to a
right
lot of
now.
places too, and Colorado was a very beautiful place as well.
It's majestic. It really is. It's colorful to the point that
It's
it really
humbling.
does look like God took or the universe or whatever you believe in, took a paintbrush and painted it. And you're just driving into that painting. That's pretty much how it looks out here all the time. And us who
Yeah.
live here are jaded.
The
And
sky.
right. And a lot of people, I mean, if you live in a big city, you can understand this, that you can close your eyes and hope for the idea of what it used to look like. Here, there are real places that they probably, like we said in our last episode, have never found these people on a mountain in their cabin before. They're still there from like smallpox.
People that have been there their whole, like, for generations.
Right. So this particular poem, I'm going to read it and then we're going to jump over to a quick facts about this town, and then we're going to jump back to this, and then we're going to touch on some Indian information. So hold on one second though. Can you guys cover? I got to take the dog out. I'll be right back.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I was thinking about Indians in southern Louisiana. Yeah, Native Americans in southern Louisiana and the swampland, and how conflicting it can be to exist out there. There's like mosquitoes, heat,
Right.
water, just water rising and falling.
how do
Like,
they
say you build
know?
a camp and the water rises, and there's predators, natural predators out there. There's boars, a lot of
That's
things
some
that,
hardcore climate.
if you've never experienced the boar in firsthand,
You're in for a shock.
yeah,
Right.
they're very
They're
heavy
not friendly.
and tough.
It's nothing like Pumbaa.
They have
No.
very thick skulls. They're I'm not sure if it's territorial or what, but if you're walking through the woods and boars see you, there's a good chance that they might charge you, and
Mm-hmm.
they have very very sharp tusks, and it can cause huge lacerations or this and that.
Don't they
It's
eat full
people
bones? I'm
think
pretty
that
sure they
maybe they
do.
can take a pig full on, but this is a very large pig that has razor sharp
And he's
teeth
got tusks.
that are tusks.
And they're hungry,
They
hungry,
protrude
aren't
out of
they?
their face, and they're razor sharp. Yeah,
Poor listeners are like, what are we hearing?
yeah,
That's an
yeah.
aside.
Okay.
We'll cover
Well,
that one day.
yeah, and
No,
I'll
for
also
real
mention
though,
that
you're
Indians have to
right.
deal with these things, and maybe even in Colorado. That's you said to take over, but that's what I've
Mountain
experienced.
lions.
So
No,
yeah,
for real.
mountain lions. I couldn't imagine what
Think
they
about,
dealt
have you
with
ever
just to
seen
have their home.
like what we're gonna touch
No
on?
roads and
Some of
things.
the visuals I will share with you guys tonight. I mean, we're just getting started, but some of the visuals I'll share tonight really will blow your mind of where they built, what kind of land this was. I have some drone footage in the future, if not this
But can we
episode.
just take a second for the buffalo? That makes me
Yes,
very sad.
the
Miss
woolly
Marie has
mammoth.
braided her hair tonight.
The woolly mammoth are the most. They found so many in my area. It's just not even funny. So if you think about that, they all migrated here. The Indians always
I mean,
followed.
even down into Texas, there's like buffalo. It was buffalo land.
Oh yeah,
Right.
So clearly, we've
there's
just
still
taken
Montana.
so much, man. We've just taken.
We're gonna touch on so many different places, and I just can't wait to share. Yes.
I just wish one day that we could free roam animals and let
Right.
horses be horses and cattle be cattle, and or not cattle, but cows of any sort. Any type of large animal. Let them be themselves without it being a hunting ground or
Right.
somewhere where there's some type of resource gathered from animals.
I may not be of
That's what they're meant to
good
do is to
standing
run
in here, but I still want to eat my steak.
and live their life.
Hey, what we're
Yeah.
gonna learn about tonight, even the
There can be
area,
a fine balance, possibly.
the Native Americans, when they took away their land, we will learn about tonight, a big portion of it. They only told them, you can't live here anymore, but you can come hunt where we live. Come and get your animal.
And
Go
that's
away,
not even the
though.
whole thing. Yeah,
It's incredible. What we're going to learn tonight is just
that's
eye-opening and
kind of rude to
touching.
even say. Yeah,
I
like
know. And there's
to
visuals I
tell
will
a
be
group of people.
showing. Right. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to read this, and then we're going to get into the fun stuff. So this is a poem that this is the first one I ever read, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. I can't wait to get into this. So Housing Act of 1859. There wasn't any architect, no banker made a loan to solve their housing problem. They were strictly on their own. They didn't sign a mortgage, and they didn't own a lot. Just stopped the covered wagon at a likely looking spot, meaning the view was incredible. Okay. No lumber yards were running. They cut timber in the hills and hewed it into beams and joints, in doors and window sills. They had to hand saw every plank and quarry every stone. But finally, they got it done, a home to call their own. No mansion, but a sturdy home their own strong hands had made. It stood on fertile acres that had never been surveyed. No warranty, no abstract fee, no red tape legal fuss. They just came out and built the West and left all that to us. So when I read this, and my heart was like, wow. Now I live in a very interesting home in a very interesting land we're going to learn about. When I moved in, when people like me from the 1980s were able to live on this hill, but we're going to learn about the whole spot. So without further ado, let me also pull up something very interesting because this is where we want to go. Hold on a second now. Thank you for all your patience tonight. I'm not looking at the comments, so I apologize if I'm missing out. But I'll be back. So we've got, I think this is the one. Yes, indeedy. Now, this is just the simple facts, quick little, let's pull up some ideas here. Now, Parachute runs along the I-70.
That's Parachute there?
right here. And
Geographically.
yes, and let's give you a little idea of in the map. There's Grand Junction. Can you guys see this? Okay. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can. Okay, good. And if you look, we're going to be looking at a lot more maps. But if you look at kind of this area over here, where the Utah area, this is where most of the Indians that I live, Native Americans that I had lived in their land, were forced to go up north or they migrated completely south. But most of them, for over huge amounts of time, we will be discussing in specifics. Denver is 3 hours away to the east. And so if you can imagine, this was the area that was booming way before our town got crazy.
Yeah.
Now, it's an interesting place because it's land that was Indian owned by the Ute Indian. They're they pronounced the town incorrectly and thought it was like Pakashoon, but it's like parachute is what the white people initially
Oh,
thought. So what we're going to learn in this little short, quick excerpt here are some amazing quick facts about the area. So located in the crossroads between the rugged mountains, ridges in the mesas, and plateaus of Colorado's western slope. The region surrounding Battlement Mesa and Parachute was once the seasonal campground of the Ute Indians. Later, the area appealed to the early settlers who tired of cold winters in the high mountain terrain, sought a more modern climate for ranching and farming. As a result, the valley is rich in both Native American history and as well as that of early Colorado settlers. Starting in the mid to late 1800s, the area transitioned from first farming and ranch to mineral extraction with links to both the east and the west coast via the railroad and later by the automobile. Today, in the 21st century, Parachute and Battlement Mesa are highly desirable
embattlement.
communities. Yes, Battlement Mesa, desirable communities for those seeking deserve recreational opportunities and a desire to enjoy the great Colorado outdoors. Now that's the come here, move, and buy our expensive property logo. But this is where things get interesting. Did you know the town of Parachute is the home of the rock that burns? Now, this is an
The rock that
interesting.
burns. What is
The
that?
rock that burns. In 1882, pioneer Mike Callahan built a cabin with an oil shale rock fireplace, despite stern warnings from the Ute Indians. So the rocks already were rich in the oil that we pull out of the earth when we do fracking out here. He built his fucking fireplace out of that, right?
Oh, wow.
And
What?
the Ute Indians told him not to. The
Of
shale rock
course.
from the fireplace ignited and set the fire to the cabin, which burned to the ground forever afterward. Mike Callahan was an oil shale advocate. Mike Callahan, was this Mountain Callahan? So they named it that. Mount Callahan, the spectacular peak west of Parachute, was named in his honor. In addition to the oil shale, the area is rich in sodium ash deposits as well as abundant amounts of natural gas, including propane and butane. No wonder it smells funny here all the time. Locally produced
Yeah.
natural gas and soda ash are now sold through the US and worldwide. Isn't that incredible? Just think about that. You're like
A
he
byproduct.
probably lived in that house in a certain time where he didn't need the fireplace. And then
Yeah.
his brand new house, he's like, screw those Indians. They're trying to screw me over. I'm going to light this
Experimental
bitch.
fireplace, huh?
My God. I wonder if it was like an actual explosion or a quick burn. Like, that's intense.
Burned for a while. It's
That's
not
Yeah, like
intense.
a rock that burnt. Yeah. It's
Let
gonna burn
me
for a while. It's dense.
just say there's some pretty awesome things I'm going to be sharing with you guys. I
It had
found
fire trucks.
some visuals on this website and some others that hopefully, we'll dig into if we have time. But it even shows some of these cabins that were so well built by, surprisingly, the white men. They knew what they were doing in these harsh climates, but they built these cabins and were able to actually haul them off of the lands and sell off the cabins as historic buildings, which is kind of crazy they did that, but I have pictures of it we'll be featuring later. So, did you know Battlement Mesa was named for surrounding geographical formations? Two majestic flat top mesas overlooking Battlement Mesa
I've heard
provide year.
Battle Mesa before.
Oh, you got to come visit. Two majestic flat. We got to come and then ghost hunt a little here. I'm saying it right now because this place is strange. I want to really look. I'm going to go to the city planning and try to
EMPs and
find
all.
out if my land has any historic remembrance, because that large orb, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go look at one of my previous videos before the podcast started. Something visited me for a while. So this thing, it was so strangely in a pattern. It does the same patterns. It's like, I wonder if there is residual on this land. So rich in deposits, right?
Definitely. I
Holy
mean, I
crap.
feel like many of places they're undermined, but there's a lot of
Is
residual energy on Earth.
do we know right now? Do we know in this group here? Do we know if oil is a spiritual conductor? I don't know if it is. Is crude?
I haven't even thought that deep into it. That's a great.
It's a good thing to look into, right?
I don't know,
So
but what I
these-
do know is we're running out of it.
Right.
Oh
Well,
wow!
even
Watch us find
right.
out the
It's a
properties of it
natural.
far too late.
Wait. Say it again. You go for it. Go for it.
Watch us find out the properties and the importance of these properties far too late. You know, when we run out of
Right.
the material.
Well, I think
and
that's
we
why
do
they're
it
they're
used.
slowly making it a legal thing. Like my area is very involved in fighting for oil families, as you would, and we're coming from Louisiana. They're oil families too. These people are being moved all over the country. Like I just heard the debate for Colorado. We will touch on the future. Is that their real argument is that why isn't Canada giving us Colorado water? Why isn't they got plenty of water? Why isn't the Missouri River helping us out? Like, come on, greedy bastards. California doesn't need all of Colorado's water. This is a real thing, people, currently happening, like this year conversations. So, yeah, I probably will eventually move away from this area, unfortunately, because I like water. I need rain,
Yeah,
but to give it
water's
honor,
part of my life for sure.
to give it love, this area, I want to learn all that I can and share all that I can on my podcast as an ode to the memories that I have in this area, the positive, and all the interesting things that I'm going to learn from living in this spot and you guys being in this amazing journey. So, the next fun part, let's see here. Let's go. This is just an awesome little document we have to go through. So, let's see. Here we go. Did I mess up? Where are we at? Provide year-round vistas. Okay. So the two majestic flat-top mesas overlooking Battlement Mesa provide year-round vistas resembling I don't know what that word is. Escape. Oh, did I lose you guys?
No,
Is it hard to see?
yeah.
I gotta go take care of the Chihuahua. Bear with me, friends.
The Chihuahua. I love Chihuahuas.
And I walk outside and there is rain. It's so funny. Hello there, Parachute. You're being funny with me. So, let's see here. I would like to.
Where are you at?
We're at the two majestic flat top mesas overlooking Battlement Mesa. I don't know what that word is.
Escarpments.
Escarpments. The fortress of old with sloping projecting battlements. So that's interesting in its own because there is another piece I will go take a picture of Battle Mesa. There's the old battlement. I'm sure it's even in here, but here we go. The layered formations beckon on active visitors to enjoy an all-day hike to the top of Battlement. Part of the largest contagious mesa in the United States continuous mesa running in the US from Grand Junction to Rifle. Oh, that's interesting. Hikers can enjoy native cutthroat fishing ponds, lush meadows, wildlife, spontaneous 360 degrees. Pioneer ranchers from the Colorado River Valley uh, beneath these mesas, uh, beneath these mesas to be ideally suited for raising cattle in the 1879. The ranching community built a quarried rock school on the mesa. Today, Battlement School, the queen of the mesa. Oh my gosh, so that's that little building. That's very interesting. Has been
You
renovated to the site. Oh,
wow.
let me see if I can pull it back up from the beginning. I think it's going to show. There it is. And this
Oh
place, I have
wow!
some
Look at the mountain
right,
behind, or the hill, whatever it's
right.
considered. It's beautiful.
Isn't that amazing? So like what they
That's
say
amazing.
is that in the mountainside, if you can kind of see that they look like parachutes, all of the mountain peaks that
Oh,
are
okay.
establishes from. But then, hold on. See that too? Look at the shadows in the mountainside. They look like parachutes. So that's
Yeah.
supposedly but okay. Let's go back to the fun stuff. So, all right, this is the one if you guys want to read it one by one, you're more than happy to. But the one that really got me was this part. So, did you know Parachute is the only town in the world with the name? According to legend, a member of the Heidel survey in 1879 noted that the watershed pattern of the ruined plateau north of the present day Parachute resembled parachute lines and chose the name Parachute for the area. So that's what I was just saying. Mountain like gives these like weird echoes. And then for the area, according to a June 30th, 1910 edition of the local paper, which I'm going to go to my local library soon and pull up those actual things, see if I can get photocopies. I want to give you guys like a whole rich experience of me sharing this docuseries and podcast with you guys who are just listening in audio form. So you can kind of learn. If you're one of those people who don't want to read a book, well, guess what? I do all the work. We're all here together now. So, um, it says, however, the town's name came from the Ute word Puckashoot, which is when I looked it up, it didn't sound like that. I'm
Pakashu.
like, I don't right. Because when I played the little Siri sound, it sounds totally different. So everybody, I suggest you
So should we
look
rename
this up.
the area?
They already
Like
did. It was
bring it back
initially
to its.
Grand Valley. Here, it gets better.
Yeah.
And this is the corruption of the area at the first taste of it. You ready for your little tiny piece of bread with some butter?
Yeah.
Here it comes.
Yes,
Here
ma'am.
goes. In 1904, this is 2 years after the water situation, okay? So they're like on it. In 1904, local residents changed the town's name to Grand Valley to take advantage of a real estate promotion in the nearby Grand Junction, which is suited to in the Grand Valley River. So, when the railroad conductor announced, next stop, Grand Valley, settlers disembarked thinking it was Grand Junction, which is 45 minutes away if you take a car to this day and age in the 2022. When the railroad conductor announced, next stop, Grand Valley, settlers disembarking thinking it was Grand Junction, local sales agents at the train depot were on the hand to tell settlers about Grand Valley parachute properties. Grand Junction hated having one put over them by such a small town. In 1980, the town was renamed to Parachute. Now I moved in 1996 or hold on 94 maybe it was 96 95 96 between then. So I was very kind of new to the land and it looked totally different when we initially moved here. So like it's a lot like to imagine what it was before they got it ready to be sold and what it was
Mhm.
back in the 1900s. Like we're talking prohibition
Yeah.
existed in New Orleans at this time.
Big difference.
And here we are, this little tiny town being like, we're going to scam you. Get off the train. Come live here. Oh, you don't have any more money for a ticket? Sorry, bitch. Move in. It's fucked up.
Wow.
Right.
I heard one of my good friends, I think it was earlier today actually, he mentioned that certain cities you're raised there, and you live your whole life, and you become spellbound to the place in a certain way, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like a trap. It's like you can make your way out and do great things,
Right.
and something always pulls you back to come and check it out again. And
Right.
I've noticed a lot of predominant figures die in their city, and
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of crazy. Like they travel the entire world, and they lay their head at the same place that I don't know, that
But
spellbound
you
them,
know
that for
what?
something that brought
No,
them back every time.
no. Let's put it out there. You know who
But
wasn't
there's
one of
also
them?
people who are successful in their
Jim
cities.
Morrison. He died in Paris, did he not? And then he came and was
Yeah.
buried in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Am I wrong? Am I completely off? I'm probably totally wrong. I'm gonna insult Ashley, who's listening. One of
Oh,
my fellow YouTubers, Loner Morrison. Look her up. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting analogy. It is true. Like when you get older, I think we do fight for that nostalgia. My only reason for coming back to this town was it was still practicing the 1980s, like what we're going to learn a little bit about of their um build a dream, a pipeline idea. Come here. Initially it was just you could rent a place, and then it was build a dream, buy a house. And I found so much too that I will be sharing with the listeners. So you guys, if you're moving to this area, there's so much good and there's so much interesting about the history. But um so let's get back to the insanity. Here we go. So did you know Battlement Mesa is the only planned community on the western slope? Battlement Mesa originally created by Exxon. Take
excellent.
that in. They owned it. Let's take a break. Let's go back.
Wow.
Battlement Mesa originally, did you know, is the only planned community on the western
Well,
slope? Do you know another? I want to look
Rich.
into that. Originally created by Exxon in the late 70s as a 25,000 person residential community. They invested in people. Oh my goodness. Okay. Residential community for Exxon's oil slate employees has been transformed into a planned community with friendly, easy to know residents. The 32,000 acre. Sorry, guys. Bear with me. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I'm back. Okay.
You're
The
okay.
32,
Girl.
right? 3,200 acre uh, covenant protected community, which means it's an HOA, featured an 18-hole golf course, tennis courts, mile of paved walking and biking trails, 767 acres of designated open space, and great Colorado River fishing and rafting. Now, I will say this, coming back to
That sounds like a lot of
2022.
fun.
Oh, it is. And actually everything is pristine. Like they don't play around. It's
Super
an
beautiful.
interesting place. Yes. And so did you know Parachute promotes alternative energy? Isn't that funny? Now let's look
Wow.
at the history. Let's just take a moment. They came in, took the land. We're going to talk about all that. We're just, all we're doing is a palate cleanser. Have you ever had like a tapas, guys? You know, you eat a lot of little things and then you're sort of full. Maybe you'll eat more. You know, that's what we're going to do tonight. Tomorrow I'll even be reading some more, but let's see. Here we go. Parachute has acknowledged the importance of alternative energy by recently installing solar flowers which provide energy at the visitors cabin and information center off of I-70. Now that's not enough, Parachute. That's the bathroom lights at the rest stop. Parachute, do you hear me? Not working with that. But yes. Yeah, real shit. But it's nice to see that we are putting it on the roadside. I'll say that's an improvement. I also will say that in the 1990s that I lived here, you know, they were just starting to put plants in the ground and make it look like a community. Before, you kind of look like you're in a desert just plopped down, which you will see in this brochure we're about to go pull ourselves over.
Like once you put a
Right.
city in the desert, like it starts to appear like it's It's where
And
you
they
should
did
be.
nuclear on my land. I can't wait to talk about that. You ready, guys?
Nuclear
So we're not
testing?
going to. Oh, let's go there. We're not going to go there yet, but you will find out. So this is the awesome Coloro is his name. It sounds like cholera, but it's not. It's Coloro, Chief Coloro. I know. Okay, and if you look up the word Coloro, Chief Coloro, you will find so much about this interesting man. Let me just blow your guys' mind. Chief Coloro is the symbolic of the period of the transition parachute area, as he was the chief of the Ute Indians who first called the area their home. And he also knew the first permanent settlers in this area. Drawing by Connie Murray from a Colorado Historical Society photo. Now, oops, I'm sorry. So let's just this is a black and white photo. I apologize. Hold on. Man, guys. We're going to do this so I can see it. All right. So this is a cabin. Now I got to find out the location because it looks similar to a hold on, let me make sure can you even see? You can't see it, can you? Damn.
Wow.
Hold on, guys. Hold on, let me stop sharing this and we're gonna get it set up. At least I read it. That's what's important. So share. Let's go to I can't wait to show you guys this. All right, so let me go back to the lovely chief. My mouse pad's not my friend. Here we go.
We should
So this
cover
is
a few different chiefs throughout time,
we will. I think we should definitely hit on New Orleans history and their Indian tribes because that's the land. We're not just talking about New Orleans. We're not just talking about Colorado. Straight up,
But
don't you want to look into your family's heritage and understand the roots more? I think it makes sense to understand
Actually,
why
I
they
do
had
know
to
some
move.
things about our family's heritage, but um, like where our mother is from is DeRitter, and I don't know if y'all know, but that was actually named after a lady.
Really?
Yeah, and
DeRitter.
actually, our great grandfather, him and his dad found water to bring to DeRitter, and
Wow.
like they figured out where to, I guess, basically dig, but you have to go
So
so far.
they were the canal
And then, but
originals?
well, they didn't. It wasn't canals. It was like
Okay.
making wells. It,
Gotcha.
you tee off a yard, and they were able to figure
Right.
out where to go. But they basically I don't know the technical term. I'll have to look it up. But it was like this T like metal looking thing, and they would stomp the ground until they found out where the water was. Anyway,
Wow.
but then what's crazy is that the way that he died, this is just a quick story, but the way
No,
that
no,
he
go
died
for it.
is he was out at his farm and his horse kicked him, and
Oh, wow.
he got up like he was a country boy, I mean, he was a man.
Wow.
He had kids.
A lot of people walk things
Yeah,
off, but
he was
it
in his early 30s. Well, he
Huh.
went home. He went home that night, and in front of my grandfather and his other children, he died. He had a heart attack and died like his
Oh,
heart
my
gave out.
goodness.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
but
Wow.
my grandmother Rosella was kind of like heartbroken after that, but they clearly had money because of the
Right.
water. He did find the water, but just a crazy little story because I know that we're going to get into the whole water situation there.
Right. No, I mean, I'm going to probably start a little clip tonight of that too, because I think it's worth sharing at least just the visual. But just so you guys get an idea, this is the Indian, and I'm sorry, Native American Indian. They were referred to that. They understood it. We're not being derogatory, just to make that very clear. Any listeners, let's be friendly here. But the actual Native American chief, Colera, Colera is how they pronounced it. So this one we're gonna go with. Was a Ute chief of the Ute Mountain Utes, skilled horseman and warrior. He was involved in a treaty negotiating with the U.S. government in 1879. He fought during the Meade Massacre. 8 years later, his family members were attacked during Colorado's War. He was placed in the Jefferson County Hall of Fame in recognition of his for the contributions that he made to our country and indeed our state and nation. Now, the things I think are very interesting about him, let me just read one of my favorite parts because he's a little naughty man. Let me just say this. This is interesting, though. Colorado was born in a Comanche. I'm not saying that right.
Comanche.
Born a Comanche. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Poor listeners, your ears. Okay. About 1810, 5 years later. So think about this. He's a 5-year-old little boy. 5 years later, there was a battle in northern New Mexico, which resulted in him being kidnapped by the Manchi band of Utes. He received the nickname Red or Colorado, which is what Colorado stands for in native tongue. It means red. So, for his particularly red skin, or as compared to the Utes. So this is the part that just cracked me up. Hold on, let me find it at the bottom here. Do you want to read a little bit of this? Let's see. Hold on, let me see which one it is. Or his wife. That was so interesting. Hold on.
Let me see if I can see it.
Do you want me to blow it up some more?
Yeah.
Don't mind. Let me do that. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find that one little part. Personal life. We're gonna skip all that. You guys can refer to the other stuff. His personal life cracked me up. And the interesting part about his death was the same day my mother passed away. So I was like, this is weird. I never even. Whoa. Okay. So here we go. Personal life. And my mom never looked into this stuff. And
He
like,
married
you know,
three women who may all have been sisters. His first wife, Rika, gave birth to 3 of his children. What?
you know, Karamaha, Cholera, Pocachina. We're gonna say Gus. I'm glad they gave us Gus.
Sure, a lot
And
of
a
people
girl
would be
named
curious about these words.
Tolly. It looks like Tollywag. That's what it looks like. Topaliwa. Sorry, guys.
Why would you have us read this part?
Well, no, I did. I'm saying I'm gonna read it, but Richa died when riding a horse. She fell off the horse, and her foot was caught in the stirrup, and she was dragged to her death. He had 6 other children with sisters. So think about, and this was, so I never thought about that in inbreeding. I never even thought about that. Like that there could be so much weird bloodline through the Indians. I never even thought about that till this part, and I was like, holy crap. And yet we're on the Utah border. That kind of polygamy involvement, is that a spiritual normal thing that they
Where
did?
is the Ouray Reservation?
Array. It's where they have hot springs and whatnot. Hey, hold on a second. Let me see if I can pull up that one video, because we should seriously watch this about him. Is this the one? I think this is the one. Nope, it's not about this one.
Crazy that you moved from Jefferson Parish to Jefferson County.
I know, isn't that weird? And yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. Hold on a second. It's going to have to be on our spiritual episode. I'll describe all the symbolism that happened in my life when I moved back to this area. Hold on. We're going to find this great more videos.
So,
all right. Go for it.
So the majority of your life you lived in Jefferson.
Guess so.
Yeah.
Back and forth. Back
Yeah,
and forth,
but
man.
Jefferson all the way, like county or parish.
Right? Let's see here. It would be
significance of the Jefferson.
What does Jefferson mean?
Who's the famous Jefferson?
Are we talking about the show?
Like Jefferson on the $20 bill.
You said it, I had to.
Right.
Yeah.
Here we go. I found it. This is amazing. Here we go. Let me see if this will work. I'm gonna have to make it share. Stop sharing. Stop sharing. There we go. All right. Can you hear me? Oh no. Share screen. All right. Can you see it? Oh no. Stop sharing.
Are you there? Oh, I think you might be muted.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Sorry about that. It cut out, so I had to drop out and drop back in. Okay. So I'm going to mute myself on here. I'm going to play this video and hopefully
Okay.
hopefully you can hear me. I will double check if you can hear. Just say something in the message if you don't mind, Marie. Okay.
Okay.
Is an image of the Colero family from around 1874. Hi everyone, my name is Ike and I work in information services at Mesa County Libraries. I'm a librarian. And today I'm going to be talking about Colero, who was a Ute chief. Colero was an influential leader who was born in about 1813 as a Comanche. As a youth, he was captured by Mowash Utes and he was raised and lived as a Ute. He died on December 11th, 1888 on the Uinta Reservation in Utah, and his burial took place on December 13th, 1888. I've got a couple slides I want to mention just as images or photographs of Colero. This first slide is a photograph of Colero from January 1888. The next slide is an image of Colero taken between 1869 to 1870. You can see that below that image, it actually has him named as Colorado. And Colorado was not necessarily an alias, but just another name that he was sometimes called. The next slide shows us a picture including Colero's wife, Sia, on the left, and she's seated. The next slide is an image of the Colero family from around 1874. The next slide is continuing. We've got a photograph of a group of Utes from sometime in the mid-1870s. These Utes were visiting the Colorado Springs area, and we can see that Colero himself is seated on the front row on the right side of that photograph. Colero was often mentioned in newspapers from the 1880s, really all across the western states. even as far back or as far away as Georgia and Tennessee.
Can you believe that? As far as Georgia and Tennessee. Can you guys unmute yourself for a second?
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Right. Now, I'm going to take us on a different journey for a second. After I get to the big point, we're not watching this 24-minute video. We will go through this video in more depth later. I just want to get to one little part that gives you guys a physical visual of what happened to my area. Because I showed you guys on the map just a small spot, but what really happened to these natives in this area. And I feel for them, and I will honor them as far as I can. So what we're going to do is let him speak a few more minutes. I think it gets up to about, let's see, I think it's 4 minutes in. Let me make sure. I don't want to waste anyone's time tonight. But yes, about 5 minutes in. So give us like 3 more minutes, and then I'm going to jump over to another video that really just describes Colorado's history so much. And including the PDF, I will be jumping on that, of course, in more in-depth reading. So everybody just hang on. This is the best way to do it. Okay, I'm going to mute.
Very interesting.
Right. I mean, Georgia and Tennessee. Now, I think we're going to hear in the history books that we're going to look into for Louisiana that there was handoffs of negotiating. They're all kinds of working together. Had to be. Trading, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
He was also one of the more well-known Utes during the 19th century. And his name often appears in books about the history of the Ute people. A woman named Lena Urquhart also wrote a book about Colorado titled Colorado, the Angry Chieftain. During Colorado's life, he would have witnessed really a complete change in the Ute lifeways. And his ancestral, or the Utes' ancestral homeland, had been reduced steadily during several treaties. These treaties eventually resulted in 3 reservations across Colorado and Utah. The next couple slides are actually going to be some maps. This first map is showing us the states of Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico. And we've got, the map shows us the distribution of the bands of Utes across those states. And all of these maps came from the book, The Ute Indians of Colorado, Utah, and New Mexico by Virginia McConnell Simmons. In this first map, we can see that the territory of the Moawatch Utes was in the section labeled number 12.
Just to put it in perspective so we can take a moment to really keep that on the screen for a second. Those are how the tribes were actually put together. When I looked up mine, what it was is supposedly number 8, if we're going to look on this little demographic at the bottom. And I did do some more research, and it's so misconstrued with history. It's going to take a bit more information to see what the misunderstood names of each tribe were, from white man to actual Indian writing. It's incredible. But anyway, let me keep going. Sorry, guys.
Basically, it's going to be south central Colorado and then dipping down into north central New Mexico. This next slide is showing us the map, showing us the Ute reservations in 1868. We can see we've got the Uinta Reservation in Utah, and then also.
So if you guys can actually see, hopefully you can see my mouse. I believe you can. So this is the area I was referencing prior in the video. And then we've got, this is where I live. This is the canyon. So right here. Now, I'm going to keep my mouse right there. And we're about to be so sad.
Those are all rivers there?
No, that's all Indian reservation land that was acceptable. And those were tribes that were still there. Anything in the hashed coloring were Indian land. So if we were thinking about a few minutes ago what it said, Colorado didn't have any on the eastern side. It was all my area was just saturated. And some of Utah, and then like the Mother Earth of basically this historic Indian area, right? And then you see what happens next. Oh my gosh, it's about to destroy. It's a Louisiana Purchase all over again. Here
All
we
right,
go.
you'll
Here we
have to
go.
mute us because I've
I'll mute you.
zoomed it in.
Okay.
The Consolidated Colorado Reservations. Moving on to 1873, following the Bruneau Agreement, we can see that we have the Uinta Reservation in Utah essentially looks the same. However, the Colorado Reservation was quite a bit, was changed quite a bit. We can see that really that lower, almost that entire lower third of the Colorado Reservation was taken away. In the 1882 map, we can see that once again, in the sort of a theme, the Colorado Reservation was subtracted or decreased in size even more so. We can see that it's very down there in the very lower left-hand corner of the state, just a tiny sliver of what it had been previously. However,
Incredible. Is it not incredible? Let me unmute you. Sorry about that. Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it just,
It's that little hashed area.
Yep.
Yep.
Is
Little
it
hash-
incredible or is it just like
devastating. What we're about to see on the next video just puts everything this man put in our eyes, which is so textbook and librarian because he is. But sorry listeners, it's a fact. We appreciate you though. All you librarians out there. But he gives it justice when we actually listen to the next video. So I'm gonna let him finish out this, but I'm not gonna it's like a minute more, and then we're gonna go to this other video that I'm gonna have you guys give me your input, and then we're gonna play with more of the PDF if we're on time. We're doing pretty good tonight. Where are we at? We got probably 30 more minutes or so, depending on how you guys are feeling. But here we go. Let's do this.
on the opposite side, or I should say on the Utah side of things, the Uinta Reservation actually increased in size by a little bit, where it goes right over to the eastern Utah state line. So that was 1882. In 1895, on this next slide, we can see that really the Uinta Reservation in Utah, that's basically the same. In the Colorado reservations, it was actually broken up into two reservations, and we can see that the one actually dips down into the northern section of New Mexico. So that was how those Ute reservations changed over time.
Pause.
Isn't that interesting? Here we go. Okay. So just keep that in mind and let me blow your mind with this. We will introduce ourselves more to that video on another day. I'm going to pull up another video because we can't read the PDF yet without understanding really what Colorado's diverse from the words of these actual natives, the people that have the story. Okay. And I'm so proud to share this. So I will be linking all of these beautiful channels. Truth. It is. And we were talking about spirit and culture.
What is history?
What is Native American history in Colorado? The history of Native Americans overlaps a lot. Territories overlap with each other. Colorado, of course, was not always Colorado. So we have to consider a much larger region when we think about Native American occupation. Neighboring states, because the territories overlapped into what we know as Colorado, into Utah, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, New Mexico, Arizona. So it's a very large region that we're talking about, quite a number of different tribes.
It's not a textbook.
It was the last book that was written about the Utes of the 20th century. And it was put out, I believe, in 1992. And that took folks up to a period of the early 90s, late 80s, of our leadership. There's been 20 years since that book came out, and so much has happened for our tribes.
It's not a lecture.
Now, in spite of the fact that we have 35, 40,000 Indians in the state, and we are active in a lot of areas, the fact remains people of Colorado still know very little about Native American history and contemporary Indians as well.
It's not just in our past.
I would want non-natives to know that we're still here, that we're not an object of the past, that what you see on TV in terms of a burial site being found in the state of Colorado wasn't the last Indian in the state. That we have a population, we have a thriving population.
It's all around us.
Well, my name is Ben Sherman, and I come here from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota.
My name is Carol Harvey. I'm the Executive Secretary for the Colorado Commission of Indian Affairs here in Colorado. I'm an enrolled member of the Navajo Nation.
My name is Ernest House. I'm a member of the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe from Toyoak, Colorado.
My name is Terry Knight. I'm the Tribal Historical Preservation Officer, and also what they call a spiritual leader.
Over 54 tribes occupied what is now considered the state of Colorado, but this was really not a geographic region to Indian tribes that existed in this area. The Ute Indian tribes, for example, lived within the four corners of this state, but also within what is considered Utah and New Mexico today. So tribes did not look at states as boundaries, they looked at their homelands. And so we had a number of tribes living in this area. The Navajos considered their homeland to be bounded by 4 sacred mountains. 2 of those sacred mountains are here in Colorado, the mountain of the north and the mountain of the east. And so Colorado may be a state as it's considered within the 50 states of the United States, but for the Navajo, it was part of their homeland. Mount Blanca, for example, is the eastern mountain of the Navajos' homeland. And for the Navajos, these mountains were very sacred and they were very important. We have deities that live on these mountains today. The past and the future are very real for us. Dawn Youth and Dawn Girl live on Mount Blanca here within the state boundaries of Colorado.
I think people tend to forget that our American Indian culture and heritage was here long before these buildings or these concrete or these roads that were put into place. That culture and heritage have been embedded in these communities and in this ground and the rock and the earth long before we as native even got here. So
Isn't that incredible? Just take that part in. It's just, it is so, so think about where they put themselves. The natives, where it was all, what have we talked about so many episodes about gut and a drive and finding your soul? Where are you driven? Like,
Right.
holy crap. Right. And if you look at the map, the way that it was constructed, literally, what we're going to find out through the history and in this video, I have to stop it here and there so it's not your screen playing tricks on you. I have to stop it for YouTube reasons, but I find it really quite interesting that when we say, wasn't it 54 tribes of different chiefs? And that's what really makes this a very incredible story, to know that my town had this one particular chief who had so much importance as far as he did, how stretching he did. And right, here we go. Okay, I'm going to meet you guys again. Hold on. We're getting it done. All right.
it's interesting because when we preserve and we look at things of how to preserve our culture and heritage, that's a struggle that every generation fights with, but more so my generation, because I'm the first out of 5 generations who cannot speak Ute fluently.
We can't teach people how to do these things. Yes, we can teach them and show them, but I learned from observation, from being around my parents, my grandparents, my brothers, my uncles, and doing the dance, learning the songs from them, being there with them, being associated with them. And that's how I learned it, to do these things. And I know those things to this day. But the younger kids, I guess the way you want to get them to dance or whatever is to put it in the iPod and stick it in their ear. Maybe they'll learn it that way.
You know, I think someone might think of a traditional Indian as someone that speaks his native language and that lives on the reservation. But over 50% of Indians today live in urban areas, and we are as much traditional as those Indians that still reside on the reservation. Our language is important, our culture is important, our history is important. I have written stories of my family so that my children and my grandchildren will have them, and yet I have never lived on the Navajo reservation, and yet I consider myself traditional as well as contemporary.
The persistence of tribes in the United States has been such that we today, for the most part, are able to salvage a good part of our cultures. We lost many tribes, but many have survived. We lost a lot of our cultures in the past, but many parts of our culture survive today. So we are on a path of restoration of our cultures and our traditions. And Native Americans today feel that that was one of the most important things that we can do for our people, is to restore, to preserve our cultures and our languages.
Don't you guys think? Hold on, sorry.
I love his double
Hello.
braid. That's really cool.
Hold on a second. It says, stop us chatting. That's what we need. Isn't that intense? We will touch more on that video, I think, at a later time. But I mean, what have you guys so far digested from what I have shared about my little bitty town in a silly, silly way? And I'm bringing up a nuclear because we're going to go into the future too, because that's important. Because if we can get you excited, guys, nuclear testing. I wasn't going to bring it up yet, but I think it's necessary.
For sure.
Let's see. Testing battlement. Let's see here. I'm just going to show you guys a visual. Colorado. I'm not going to play the video. I'm just going to bring it up so you guys see what I'm talking about. Oh, it's not even. Okay, well, timing's bad. So nope, no dead air. Okay. Apologize. All right, we're going to get back to the PDF, and I'll just...
I'm just glad that we gave a mention to the people that did live on this land, and
right, and it will give it more idea.
Beautiful lives, you know, and
right.
It's just an amazing thing to hear about.
Right, and I mean,
beautiful.
Let's see here. There it is. So just to know, we now know his face. We now understand Mr. Colorado.
Yeah, look at him.
Right, I feel different when you finally see him. You're like,
he
wow,
looks wise.
He is, and he's been in many places, and he happened to end up helping us, this area, settle. And so you would have these log cabins. You would have, you know, the settlements be very harsh. Hold on, let me pull this down so I can read it myself. So first family of Parachute and their first home they built here. And from the left to right, Miss Halbert holding a Lotta Sherhorn, next to Luther and Mark Hulbert, Minnie, I love the name Minnie, Clark, Lou, Wayne, May Burnside, and Mr. Hurlbert. Am I saying that wrong? Herbert. In the back row. Miss, Billiter, Joe Trimmer, and wife, Frances, also daughter of the Hilberts. Eventually, I would like to even look for their gravestones in the future because I feel like this is all powerful.
And I know that you said, you know, and we'll just let the audience know that tomorrow you're going to be going over this
way more in depth. Yes. Today was.
And are you having your Tuki, Rue, and I will be stepping out tomorrow. We have some things, an event. Are you going to be having a different co-host? And
I'm gonna be working on that. If not, it might just be myself, and we'll be going over more material to on the next episode. But yes, I'm working on a local who also works in the original train station we'll be featuring. I think it's shown.
Wow.
Right.
Cool.
And she has a lot of ghost pictures. She's gonna probably be sharing in the future because where she works, let me see if it even shows it.
we'll
Nope.
definitely be listening
Future
in
one.
when we get back.
That's right. It's just a taste today. We've been
Do you
trying
think
to like.
this will be a 2 or 3 parts? Well,
Oh,
it'll
this will
probably
be
be
like
way
a
more.
50 part. This will be a 50-parter. I might even be having to fill in some parts, when there is no parts to do.
fully
I honestly like the idea that you guys could give some commentary. So if you guys in the future are listening, they might be talking about some of this podcast part, episodes of the Wild West in Colorado, the wild slope west. Definitely we can like chit chat on other episodes and get you guys excited. But we're just kind of sharing a little bit of everything and all the things that grab us. We're working on some amazing interviews, and hopefully you guys subscribe, follow along. What do you think so far, guys? Give me your points. What you think?
I think it's exciting to learn. It's sad about the shortening of the reservations and basically how they took their land. But that was done all over America, really, if you think about it.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
think of how
Land
New
was pretty
Orleans
high
was.
ass,
They
but
were
it's
living
still
in the tropics.
it's like one of many cells that were divided.
Right. I mean, hold on. Let me see here.
It's terrible.
Let me see if there's something visual. Because I thought I really want to show the
We need to let
pictures.
the
We
animals
will.
roam free, man. I'm saying.
Right. Here we go. Okay, so some of these old buildings, like this is a Parachute Creek home. It actually still exists. It's like very much
Oh my
rubble.
God, look at that.
I know. I will be showcasing some of the old historic things. Let's just stream through this and see what it says. I
Yeah,
want to
we'll
be
look into more of it.
shown. I love this. Look at this funniness. Isn't this great? This is what I would imagine in New Orleans playing Mulberry, ringing around the rosy. This is exactly it. And this isn't just someone's house down in Parachute. Let's see. And, look at how properly they were dressed in this ruggedness. I think it's quite mute. The main thing I did see, actually, that we should probably touch on here. You know what? I don't think I clicked completely out of it, did I?
No.
History. We're going to do this. Nope. It did not show up. Let's see. Stop sharing. YouTube.
Yeah, as soon as we
It
get home.
did stop.
tune back
It did
in.
stop. It's being a jerk. Wowzers. Well, where's my other video? It's okay. Like I said, tomorrow I'll have a lot more queued up too. I mean, the main thing is I just think it's really important for the people who aren't going to take the time. Maybe you're somebody that lives somewhere else and you've lived in this town a long time ago. Maybe you have family that lived here historically.
Yeah,
and
that
you've
would be
researched it.
interesting
That's right.
to hear about people's stories. People lived on that land themselves,
That's right.
I'm sure there's many legends and stories and history.
That's right. Thank you, Dickie's Beer Reviews. Thank you for joining us. We have some guests listening. See, you never
We'll
know.
follow up on some topics.
And I really want to
some
look
comments or
into
anything.
some of the old buildings that are local too. So I'm going to start once the podcast starts rolling with all of the episodes of this series. You guys who are listening in Colorado, you might even learn a little bit about Louisiana because we always touch a little bit about the history we come from. So
yeah, we got to, man. It's just part of
it's part of our soul.
We are history.
I mean, isn't it a saying? What's the saying where you can take a Louisianan out of the city, but you can't take the city out of Louisiana, right? Isn't that true? I think
sure
it
a lot of
is.
people feel that way.
Right.
We're gonna reach up on different topics from different cities and things like that. And
bring
whether
it
it's
all
paranormal, like
forward.
history, or just personal experience.
So I want to welcome you to Parachute, a safe place to land, which was punned in 1980. But yeah, it's it's a pretty interesting thing to even learn about Exxon being so involved with so much of the planning of this area, which they then end up doing a test site on at one point and shooting
Yeah.
off the mountain. And there are videos I will be sharing with you guys on that.
Pretty
I mean,
exciting. Pretty
I can't imagine the
exciting
wagons that came through
episodes
here.
coming.
I'm telling you. So these are just some shots, and without overwhelming everyone, we appreciate you all being here tonight. Please make sure you hit that follow button. Give us a thumbs up. Do tune in. We'll be back together, all of us, on Monday. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. And we
We'll
don't know
be
what we're
here.
talking about. So you never know, too.
Stay blessed and be blessed.
Thank you all for joining us.
It's the weekend.
It's the weekend. Go do something fun. Comment below. Say hello. And until next time, have a good night, day, wherever you're
Bye.
at. Bye.